If you're wondering what the science says on hanging and want to hear my anecdotal experience around doing hanging as a daily practice for over a month, then stick around. And yes, I will be answering the question that most guys seem to be asking. Can it actually make you taller? First, we should start with why you should be hanging. Then, we'll move on to the ins and outs of how you should be hanging to get the most out of the practice. And finally, how you can progress so that it becomes a useful movement in a more active and dynamic setting. Hanging has become a bit of an internet phenomenon, which always makes me a little skeptical around the purported benefits of the movement and whether or not they're being overstated, or if it really is the solution to all my problems in life. Hanging has the ability to improve grip strength, which has massive benefits on activities such as weightlifting and climbing. Hanging also decompresses the spine and improves shoulder mobility, which both improves posture and allows for more mobility and range of motion within the joints. This combination of added mobility and strength is also stated to help with injury prevention. Another benefit to hanging is that you don't need any equipment to do it. Simply find a tree branch or a ledge and you have the perfect spot to hang. If you want to increase the challenge, then you can take things to the playground and start relearning a skill that most adults have lost the ability to do: monkey bars. After all, we evolved from tree swinging and climbing primates, so hanging is something that is inbuilt into our DNA, but most of us have simply lost the ability due to leading inactive and sedentary lifestyles. When I had a look at what science has to say about hanging, it was pretty bare. Most of the studies I could find from recent times will focus on assessing the benefits that hanging could have in improving grip strength for climbers. The results were positive for non-advanced athletes, but only marginal improvements were seen for more advanced athletes. This makes complete sense, as we already fully understand that strength and hypertrophy gains are not linear, meaning that the more advanced you become, the slower you will progress. The improvements in grip strength, however, are well worth noting. Grip strength is such an important aspect in so many different activities. Weightlifting, calisthenics, and climbing, just to name a few. In highlighting the lack of scientific evidence, I'm by no means trying to discourage you from hanging. In fact, I would encourage anyone that is unable to hang to actually go out, put some time in, and unlock the ability. As realistically, it is a movement that all humans should be capable of doing. Unless of course age, impairment, or physical disability is a limiting factor. It is also often the case that science is catching up to what we already know. Long-length partial repetitions that have been around for a long time are only recently being objectively tested by scientists to measure their utility against other training methods and showing positive results for their role in muscle hypertrophy. Just like any other movement, hanging has regressions and progressions to make it adaptable and suitable for all difficulty levels. If you are unable to dead hang from a bar, then use your legs to gently assist and start lowering your body until you feel a comfortable stretch in your shoulders, core, and spine. When I first started incorporating this movement, the stretch in my lower back was very strong. This highlighted that my lower back is an area that is holding a lot of tension. So even though I had the initial strength to dead hang for over 2 minutes, the strain was a signal to back off on the intensity. To accommodate, I spent a week doing assisted hangs. This allowed my lower spine to decompress and release any tension that was causing the discomfort. Once you are comfortable doing the assisted hang, gradually increase the load until you are able to perform a short, unassisted hang. Work on objectively increasing your hang time each session using a timer. Once you get to around the 1 minute mark, I recommend incorporating some harder variations. Try some dynamic movement while you hang, such as alternating arms. And some static holds using different body positions. Swinging is also a great way to make it a more dynamic exercise. There are no formal guidelines around this, But when initially researching for the video, many people's anecdotal experiences suggested that working up to a total hang time of 5 to 7 minutes per day was the sweet spot for undoing any postural issues caused by being in a seated position for long periods of time. The good news is that this does not have to be done in a single hang. You can break it up into 5 to 7 sets of 1-minute hangs, or even 10 to 14 sets of 30-second hangs. Always experiment and find what works best for you. My anecdotal experience with hanging throughout this experiment was pretty positive. Hanging was a great way to get a full body stretch, while also having the added benefit of actively training grip strength. This is shown in my increased hang time and ability to perform the monkey bars with greater ease. Hanging was also extremely easy to incorporate as a daily practice. I could easily accumulate hang time just by hanging in between sets of squats or push-ups. I didn't notice huge mobility or flexibility increases, but this is likely due to the fact that my shoulder mobility and flexibility is already quite good, and also ligaments take a lot longer to adapt to a stimulus than muscles do. So 1 month likely isn't enough time to gauge how effective this will be long term. When researching for this video, I stumbled across an interesting article that suggested hanging could actually be detrimental for people with hypermobile shoulder joints, as when you are hanging, you are creating even more space between the ball and socket of the shoulder joint. I'm not too worried, as I couldn't see any references within this article to back this claim, but I will be mindful to stay balanced and incorporate some additional shoulder strengthening work so that I don't end up having useless noodles for limbs. A way that I've already started doing this is by incorporating active hangs, with the scapula retracted and the shoulders in flexion. This will reduce the stretch within the shoulder, but still allow the spine to decompress while actively improving grip strength and endurance. Another cool bonus that is worth mentioning is that I finally unlocked muscle ups during this experiment. I'm really not sure why hanging helps so much, but my theory is that the improved grip strength, as well as increased mobility, helped with the transition from below the bar to above the bar. The scapular rotation required for the transition felt much smoother, which finally allowed me to move from the chicken wing muscle up to the full muscle up with relative ease after being stuck for months prior. I think part of the reason the benefits weren't so exaggerated for me is due to the fact that I already do quite a lot of work on the bars. During pull-ups, muscle-ups, and even rows, you're essentially in a dead hang position at the bottom of the movement, provided you are using full range of motion. This leads me to believe that a lot of the purported benefits are simply due to the fact that the people are spending so much time in a seated or sedentary position. The mechanics behind hanging undo a lot of the postural issues caused by being sedentary. So, for someone who is just starting to be more active, I can see why the benefits would be profound. And for those hanging consistently, I can also see the utility behind preventing these common postural issues from ever even occurring in the first place. This becomes even more important when you're doing activities that compress the spine, like heavy compound lifts such as a squat. Hanging also made me aware that I do suffer from some of the common postural issues caused by being in a seated position. This surprised me, as I live an extremely active lifestyle. But when I analyse my daily activities, it's incredible how quickly time spent seated adds up. 1 hour of reading in the morning, 1 hour round trip commute to and from work, 1 hour of work on my YouTube channel, and 1 hour to wind down, meditate, and watch a compelling drama of stepbro helping stepsis out the washing machine when she gets stuck, quickly accumulates to roughly 4 hours at an absolute minimum being in a seated, and if I'm not mindful, hunched over position. For this reason, I'm going to continue hanging as a daily practice. The decompression in the spine is not only a beautiful and freeing feeling, it is also a great way to stay on top of any accumulative issues that may be caused further down the road from spending too much time in a seated position. And of course, I'd love to update you all after a year of consistent practice to see if the benefits compound over the long term. And finally, to answer the most important question, whether or not I managed to increase my height. Which is the reason we all know I'm actually trying this. The answer is unfortunately no. I'm hoping the experiment was just too short to gauge the long-term effectiveness. So I'll be sure to update you whether I hit my goal height of 6 foot 9 inches by the end of the year. In all seriousness, maybe if you're starting from a lower baseline of fitness, you might notice small increases in height. But I feel like this would largely be attributed to fixing postural issues that are causing you to hunch over. You might also notice a small temporary increase in height from decompressing the spine. But this is similar to the fact that we are slightly taller right when we wake up. And then as gravity takes its effect over the day, we shrink back down. It may also be a useful tool in preventing shrinkage that occurs as we age. However, this is just a very loose hypothesis and would need to be rigorously tested before providing people with any real hope. In summary, hanging is a great way to improve grip strength and undo some of the damage that being in a seated position causes to our posture over the long term. It might not make you taller or solve all your issues, but it is a great way to supplement some mobility work, strengthen your shoulders with the scapula in a lengthened position, and it feels incredible utilizing gravity to decompress the spine. For these reasons, I highly recommend incorporating some hanging work in addition to a solid strength-based training program. As always, please leave any questions, comments, or abuse down below. Cheers.